Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on all our nominees on being nominated for these very important positions. And I want to say thank you for your willingness to step up and serve the United States, and especially to our career foreign service people. I had the privilege as governor to travel to a number of different countries on trade missions and was always very impressed by our foreign service staff. So I know that whatever mission you end up in, you'll have great teams behind you, and also to your families as well, because I know they all will sacrifice along with you when you're overseas. Ms. Lempert, let's start talking about Jordan. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the Chinese Communist Party and their expansion around the world. It's been discussed here today. The CCP and the PLA have a track record or are tied to Huawei, and Jordan recently chose Ericsson and Nokia to do their 5G network, and this is a little courageous considering that I think both their 2G and 3G and 4G are done by Huawei, and of course also Jordan's a partner in China's Belt and Road Initiative, and China has a track record of penalizing people who don't do what they want. For example, when 3 years ago Australia asked for, had the temerity to ask for an investigation to COVID in China, China launched a trade war against them. So given the fact that Jordan is such a close ally and has chosen to not use Huawei, what can we do to be able to make sure that they don't face additional economic pressure from the CCP? What can we do to make sure that they don't backtrack on this decision, and how can we support them if there is some retaliation by the PRC?
Thank you, Senator, for raising this important topic. The President and the Secretary have been clear. China presents America's single most consequential geopolitical challenge. The strategic competition with the PRC will be the defining feature of U.S. diplomacy for certainly the duration of the rest of my career and likely well beyond. And there's not a U.S. ambassador or a U.S. embassy anywhere in the world that's not focused squarely on this. And if confirmed, that would certainly be the case for me in Jordan. You rightly point out the decision that Jordan just took. I think what we can do is continue to double down on our partnership with Jordan. Ultimately, our ability to compete with the PRC in the Middle East rests on the continued strength of our partnerships, and for all of the region's challenges, and they are manifold, our deep and decades-long strategic cooperation with our partners across the Middle East, none more so than Jordan, remain an asset that no other country can match. So if confirmed, I would work to remain engaged and focused on limiting China's influence in Jordan. Actually, the largest Chinese investment in Jordan is a power plant, the Atarat power plant, $2.2 billion. It's a case study in the risks of engaging in major infrastructure projects with China. It's mired in international arbitration and a case of overpromising and under-delivering. And I think it's important that examples like that continue to be highlighted. We can't be complacent about China, and if confirmed, I will not be.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Limpert. Mr. Nyas, same sort of thing with the CCP in this hemisphere, where we have the CCP making investments, and Ecuador has also got issues, so does Peru. What I'd like to know is just talking about, going back to 1949 and Taiwan being separate from the PRC. President Xi has made it very clear he wants to reunify Taiwan by force if necessary, and diplomatic relations have been established in many Caribbean countries. However, since President Tsai took over, I noticed that 10 countries around the world have switched their allegiance to the PRC, including Honduras, which cut ties with Taiwan in March. The only 13 countries have formal relations, and a number of them in the Caribbean, including Belize, Haiti, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What can we do, and what can you do in particular to make sure that we continue to have strong relationships in the Caribbean? And how can we counter what the PRC is doing with regard to investment or their private-public partnerships? What can we do to make sure that we're doing our part to be able to keep those relationships focused toward the United States and not the PRC?
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator. I coming from the private sector, I actually have spent a couple decades in telecom, in wireless communications. I worked with Craig McCaw, the pioneer of the U.S. and global cellular networks. So on 5G in particular, I think that's an opportunity for American companies and allied companies, because a lot of companies don't want to look at these small countries because they're too small to deploy a technology. And so I think there are opportunities for us to look more regionally as opposed to at individual country level. I think the U.S. companies are the best way to compete against China in the Belt and Road Initiative and such. These countries are small, they're debt-ridden, which makes them susceptible to Chinese influence. They also, as you mentioned, there are 3 of the 13 countries that recognize Taiwan are in the 7 that I would be responsible for. And I think using the U.S., the power of the U.S., our values, our companies, I think there's an opportunity to tell a story and to deepen that story and connection with these allies. These are democratic countries. We can do more to elevate the U.S. values and U.S. brand and U.S. companies. Quite honestly, I would be a strong advocate, if confirmed, for U.S. companies in this region, and especially on the technology side. So that is really what I would do if I'm confirmed.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Nahas. Mr. Chairman?